Hello, hello. A warm welcome to the online edition of Innovare. Oh, wow. Anna, you are sitting at the North Pole, I see. That looks much more exciting than my whiteboard and my paintings on the wall. Hello, hello. It's 6 and 1, so German punctuality not matched exactly, but almost. We're seeing still people coming into the session, so we give ourselves a couple of more seconds and minutes for everybody to join here on time. I'm really happy to see already some faces in. I'm also really happy to see some known names and some people that have been with us and Innovare before. And I'm really excited for this time because this time we are actually online. So that's innovation in itself as well. Before we start, and while we're waiting for a couple of more minutes for people to come in, I'm happy to announce the boring part of the webinar, the housekeeping part. You know, this is an online session and we are making use of all the online tools. So that's why the session is actually recorded. So if you don't feel comfortable with being recorded, switch off your camera. That's the easiest way. Otherwise, you are on and you will leave a trace for future generations on the internet. Isn't that beautiful? Probably better than your last picture from Facebook. Hopefully. So anyway, that's the first part of the housekeeping here. And the second part of the housekeeping, as hopefully most of you already know, with Innovare being a format that is focusing on connecting people, connecting the dots, and making the ecosystem a little bit smaller, we also focus in this online session on our networking activities. That's why we have actually prepared 3 breakout rooms that we have after the presentation. So basically, we will put you together into breakout rooms where you can discuss different topics. And as we have to do this manually and put you manually into this breakout rooms, you can help us if you already decide on a topic along the way and add this to your name. I'll explain in a second how this goes, but the breakout rooms that we want to focus on later on is the breakout room number 1, focusing on challenges of AI implementation, the second one on AI and ethics, and the third one on building an AI ecosystem. So if you have already a preference, just go onto your name in the participants profile of the Zoom call. And if you click onto more, you can rename yourself. And if you just add the number 1, 2, or 3 in front of your name, please, in front of your name, we can see which room you like, which room you want to join. And it will make it much easier for us to allocate you or direct you into the right room after the presentation. So that will make our life much easier and much quicker. You don't need to do this right now. You have the whole hour time when we do the presentations to decide on which room you want to go. And then I hope that you enjoy the breakout room session as much as we normally enjoy our beer and wine networking sessions, sometimes also with just water at our present event. So with that, I don't want to lose so much more time and want to start this event. So today we're looking into shaking up Frankfurt actually a little bit. So AI is hitting the financial industry. And I'm really happy to have with me as the first speaker, Anna. Anna, are you already there?
Yes, I am. Hello, Robin.
Hello, hello. I couldn't hear you for the second, but I think you are still muted. Could it be?
No, I'm not. So can you hear me right now?
Yeah, now I can hear you. Perfect.
Okay, that's great.
That's the first problem fixed. So Anna, AI. I want to introduce, or I want to start with probably something that you're going to touch on. So the last year, so in 2019, when I went to conference and people were talking about AI, there was this joke, AI is only existing on PowerPoint. And that was probably the lousiest presentation joke in 2019 when it came to AI discussions. So hopefully today we can tap a little bit further on that, because with you we have a heavyweight champion of AI in the financial industry probably with us tonight. I actually have no idea where to start with your introduction because it's such a long list of interesting things that you're doing. So you're with PwC, you're with the European Commission, you have written a book on actually the AI playbook itself, you're teaching, you're lecturing. The question is, what are you not doing when it comes to AI? So probably you can also explain a little bit about that in your presentation. And I'm really happy to have you here tonight, that you can start this evening basically on tapping a little bit in the impact that IA will have on the financial industry. And with that, I don't want to lose any more time and hand over the microphone to you, Anna. The stage is yours. Thank you for being with us tonight, and I'm really excited.
Thank you, Robin. I'm so pleased to be here today or tonight for your Innovare German Tech Community event. So thank you for your invitation. And vielleicht auf Deutsch, ich möchte Hallo auf Deutsch sagen an das deutschsprachige Publikum. So, Dankeschön für Ihre Einladung und zurück zu Englisch. So I just wanted to say hello in German to some people from German speaking community. And yeah, so I said I'm really happy to be today here. And you said that, you know, what I'm not doing, considering the AI, definitely I'm not driving an autonomous vehicle because it's not possible. I'm not navigating the drone and all this stuff. But of course, I will be talking about the AI and the implication of AI and the impact on financial services. So without further ado, let me share my screen and let me share my presentation with you. Can you see the screen? Yeah. Okay, that's great. So, of course, there are a lot of definitions of AI, and there are a lot of technologies that are underlying AI, or they fall under the definition of AI. So we can mention a few of them. We already mentioned some of them. And I'm really curious, what is in your mind when you figure out, when you imagine AI? So is it an autonomous vehicle? Is it a drone? Is it a robot? Is it an avatar? Or is it a machine learning algorithm that helps solving a lot of decision-making problems or other problems? So probably you're just having some thoughts and some solutions and some scenarios in front of you, not only business related, but probably some of them driven from the either science fiction books or even movies like Terminator, or even cartoons like the Jetsons. So of course, if I'm talking about AI, there is a range of different technologies underlying the AI. We won't be talking about the technologies today because I would like to focus on use cases and applications of these technologies into financial services. So this is what I was talking about. But before we'll be jumping into some more details and illustrating them with some use cases, I would like to make a step back and answer the question, why is it all possible now? So we should realize, why is it all possible now? So of course, when we are talking about AI, so we have the range of technologies. We started with neural technologies, neural networks, but definitely we have machine learning algorithms, and we have more and more advanced algorithms that can support different solutions. And of course, we have even deep learning right now, not only machine learning, self-learning, very advanced algorithms, but also deep learning. And deep learning enable for solving even more complicated solutions, more data-driven problems like predictive analysis, even or analytics, or even prescriptive analytics. So you don't only ask the questions, what will happen, but you can also answer the questions, what should happen, or why it will happen. So this is, again, not the diagnosis only or the descriptive analytics, but we go further into the predictive or prescriptive analytics with use or with help of deep learning. This is also about image recognition. When you imagine that live data streaming, live image streaming, live video streaming, then deep learning comes into play and solve all these problems. So whatever you have in mind, definitely we'll just tackle some of the applications in the financial services. And why is it possible? We live in a data-intensive ecosystem, in a very much data-driven ecosystem. So we produce like huge amounts of data. We generate a lot of data, but we have to process the data. And here we have the example from the mobile world. So if you imagine that there are exabytes, it means billions of gigabytes being produced by the consumers, by the individual users in the mobile world. But we also have another phenomenon. This was mobile, but now we touch the internet, the online ecosystem. What we have here, if you can just see, these are mainly social media platforms, social media services, and there are like, just millions of search queries, in every single minute. We are talking about 60 seconds every single minute here. We have a lot of, just pictures posted in the Instagram or tweets. So there is a lot of content in the social media. There are being generated, being produced, but can be also analyzed. Having said that, we also have like 180 smart speakers, I will touch upon that later on, shipped every single minute to the households. So we basically have the data volume. But if we combine other factors, if they come together, then we see the potential and the rise of AI possible and enabled. Because apart from the data volume, what we have is definitely the computing power. So including the quantum computing. So this is what we have right now. It enables us not only to analyze the data, this is the need, but also to analyze it faster and in a more efficient way. And of course, we have, as said, advanced algorithms, including self-learning algorithms. So what is about the AI is definitely the human-machine interface, and that it enables to process and to do certain tasks like human-like tasks, like learning, like automation, but also decision-making processes, cognitive processes, or cognitive thinking. So summing up all together, we have data volume, we have computing power, we have very much advanced algorithms right now towards deep learning. Also some other related technologies like IoT. This is again about producing large data sets from a lot of data sources. We also have 5G. So if we talk about big data here, the big data is becoming even more, even bigger. It's growing bigger. We have such an amount of data. And if you see the underlying technologies, either we speak about machine learning or we speak about deep learning or natural language processing for speech recognition, for text recognition. We have also self-driving technologies for autonomous vehicles. We have predictive analytics. We have also virtual assistants, so voice bots or text bots, image analysis, so a whole range of technologies. As said, I won't be talking about the technologies. I will focus on use cases. So let's see some use cases. If you talk about financial services, again, there's an entire map of different use cases or applications. They ranged from front end, so you can just interact with customers using the conversational AI. You can also sell more products using AI. You can also have credit scoring. And then, just ranging from front end up to the back office or back end processes like operations, like debt collections. So let me mention some of the companies like FedZai, one of the leader in the fraud detection, analytics, and then predictive analytics, data robot, Comply Advantage. This is about KYC processes. So you see there's an entire range. So how to distinguish between all these solutions? So I was quite selective today, and I would like to showcase you only some of the examples, the most representative in my opinion, and the one I really like. So first of all, robo-advisory. The underlying technology is definitely machine learning. So you have advanced algorithms to help you make decisions about how to invest, how to manage your wealth. But what's phenomenal or what's interesting about this technology is definitely it democratizes the access to wealth assessment or wealth management. It really makes it fair. It really makes it transparent. So it used to be reserved to high net worth individuals or premium customers. Now we are going down to affluent customers, even to mass customers, because it's being automated. And of course, the cost is lower, and it can be done faster in an automated way. So robo-advisory is definitely one of the trends, and it's a growing one, as you see. This is the one of the fintech companies that I had the pleasure to cooperate with, InvestSuite. And what they did, of course, is they have like an entire suite of invest and robo-advisory products. And basically what happened, so they were able to implement a solution with one of the leading banks in Middle East, despite of the situation. And even moreover, they raised some capital, so they secure in euros 2 million additional follow-on investment during the COVID situation. So if we're talking about the momentum for AI, it's not only generally speaking that we have all these factors covered and we have all these technologies, so advanced algorithm and computing power, quantum computing, but being more just specifically, what happened during the COVID or even post-COVID situation, we have been witnessing the acceleration of digital transformation, and AI is a vital part of it. It's like at heart of it. So definitely we've seen a lot of not only implementation in the robo-advisory, but we also seen a lot of investments coming into this field. So in a way, AI is in a kind of sweet spot right now. And coming back to the robo-advisory, I said about democratizing that. So every year there's like a technology pioneers community being recognized by the World Economic Forum. And robo-advisory is one of the trends that was mentioned this year that is a kind of potential emerging technology. And another one is, I mentioned that, it's a credit scoring or credit underwriting. So we see a lot of interest coming from the lenders or credit companies side about AI, machine learning, ML technologies. So basically they are familiar with these technologies, they use these technologies, and they even expect to adopt these technologies. So AI is definitely a big trend, it's a red hot topic, but it's not only a PowerPoint buzzword, as you, Robin, indicated. It's something that is working. So we have the proof for that, not only consulting companies, but definitely there's a lot of implementations. Companies are just financial services companies, they are implemented different technologies related to AI. And let me mention Zest.ai, previously Zest Finance. It's an international company in the credit scoring field. Very impactful one. So what they do, of course, is a credit scoring, but also predictive analysis. And they are California-based US company. Another one is WeCash. And WeCash, basically, this is a Chinese company. Of course, they are international, but they are based in China. And they are like the most advanced big data platform nowadays in terms of credit scoring and credit underlining. So as a customer, as an individual user, you can just upload the app and you can just share your data, and then you have your credit scoring in 15 minutes. So it's quite powerful. They also do the predictive analytics and cooperate with B2B companies. And there is another powerful trend, conversational banking and conversational finance. And those who know me, they definitely know as well, and I've seen some familiar faces and some familiar names today. So basically they know me that I'm a big fan, and I'm also advocate for conversational finance. So I can talk about it for hours, but definitely here, just I will sum up some of the trends. So if we're talking about the voice interface, it's a new normal, it's happening. It's nothing from the future. So of course, just Asian countries are in the forefront, like China, Indonesia, India. But if you look at the worldwide average, which is 4 to 3 in terms of individual users, either using voice search or voice commands, that's really encouraging and promising. So this is happening right now. Another trend is smart home devices and smart speakers I mentioned before. So if you see again, we still are on the rising curve, but this is a very big potential for smart devices. If you look at Gartner's analysis, for example, they predict that in the coming years, 75% of households in the US, they will have any kind of smart devices at their homes. And today, up to 25% of the e-commerce in the US is being done with the use of smart speakers, predominantly Amazon, Alexa and Echo, of course, smart speakers, but still. So this is something what is happening in front of our eyes and in front of us. So talking about the voice and talking about the voice agents, voice assistants, definitely we have smart speakers, but we also have the underlying voice technologies like Amazon Alexa, Siri from Apple, Google Now, and Cortana from Microsoft. And there is again a question about the momentum, because these technologies are very much accurate right now and will reach the high accuracy. So if you look at Google Duplex, for example, so you can't probably distinguish or recognize if it's a human or machine speaking. So we reach this momentum in terms of technology as well. And this is a kind of a natural interface, still human-machine interface, but language, this is a kind of our natural way of communicating and speaking. That's why we can communicate seamlessly and in a very natural way. And we see a lot of potential for these technologies to be used in financial services. For the voice bots, for example, ING is using that in different locations in Australia, in the Netherlands, in Poland. There are even some female or male names like Laurel or Maria or Kinga for the voice bots. And we can't forget the Asian giants. So here is the example of Alipay and the native T Genie Mall voice bots and voice technology. So basically you can use this technology where you are you want to order your coffee on the way at Starbucks, and that the coffee will be waiting for you, but you can use the voice bot for that. And apart from the voice, I was talking about the voice and virtual agents, voice assistants. But of course we have, if we talk about conversational AI or conversational finance, we also have text. And social media platforms are very powerful, and we see the popularity growing around the world, but there are also messengers involved and messaging platforms. So definitely, if you look at the most popular ones, you see WhatsApp, you see the Facebook Messenger and Viber. So, and this is really a growing trend. So people use text messages and definitely the messengers to communicate. And this is also the technology being used by financial services providers. So let me give you one example, or share the example with you. So the Norway's largest bank, DNB, fully automates 55% of all chat traffic. So this is the equivalent of the 22% of total customer services. So this is what they managed to do with help of the Fintech company. This is the Norway-based company Boost.ai. So they specialize in voice technologies, in conversational AI technologies. And this is an example of a text bot. And if we are talking about the bots, so definitely we have a phenomenon of conversational user interface. We used to navigate with use of graphical user interface. We know all the websites, internet, we know how to navigate. But definitely now we can talk about the conversational user interface that can be integrated into different various interfaces or channels like social platforms, like web platforms, mobile IoT, even an open platform. And we used to say that we have like applications, so it must be an application for that. So it means that we have applications, mobile applications for everything, starting from personal training to diet recommendations to, for example, weather forecast, or to learning languages. So we have an app for everything. But how many apps you can have? Of course, you can have a lot of apps, but definitely how many apps you can handle and you can use from the level of your mobile device. So probably we should switch this, or we should change this phrase into there must be a bot for that, because bots are very easy to navigate, very easy to use as a interface, as I said. And having said that, there must be a bot for that. That's a fresh one. They launched like several weeks ago, Zelf. It's a Latvia-based fintech, a neobank, challenger bank. They launched recently in Spain and in France, and there is no app. There is no banking app. There's no mobile app. There is only Messenger. So either you can just communicate, interact with them via Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or Viber. There is a text messenger, and there is a text message you can use, and probably the voice will come up. So definitely there is an example how the technology underlined by machine learning, conversational AI, can change entirely the user interface and the way users, consumers interact with banks, with financial services providers, and how it really transform the entire customer journey and customer experience. And this is my experience. So that's the screen from yesterday or even from today during the night. I interacted with Zelf and via Facebook Messenger. So I talked to them and try out the new services. And having said that, I just mentioned about robo-advisory, about credit scoring, and about conversational AI, only just very few examples that I could provide in a very limited time frame, but they are quite representative, as said, because when we talk about impact on financial services, they really transform the customer experience, the way we conduct transactions, the way we interact with banks or with financial services provider. So thank you very much for your attention. And if you want to get in touch or stay in touch with me, you can just either contact me or follow on LinkedIn or Twitter. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anna. I know it's a little bit strange that we now have no round of applause, because that's the sad story about the online world, but you get a virtual one from Maria in the form of a picture in the video. Thank you so much. Really insightful, really, really fun, and really exciting points that you were touching on. We got an interesting question in the chat, and we have a couple of minutes to go over one or two questions. If you have another question in the group, please feel free to use the chat box or raise your hand if you want to open your microphone afterwards. I'm not sure if you can see the question, so I'm reading it out loud. So the question is that also a question of accessibility pushed forward by legislation? And if I have seen it correctly, it was coming in when you were showing the case study of Zelf. So I hope you can take it.
I can explain the background.
Yeah, Ami, hi. I think
Hi.
This is the question coming from you, yeah? So if you could please elaborate on that. So did you mean robo-advisory specifically, or generally?
No, I was talking about speech recognition, and about because we have here some legislation that is pushing ahead tools that allow handicapped people, like blind people, to use other means, especially when communicating with service providers, public service providers. And I was interested to know what you have to say in that regard.
Oh, I think it's a very good point, because if we are talking about speech recognition and voice technologies, they are very much inclusive, because they can definitely, as you said, include people who are disabled in this way. So basically they can't read, or they but they can speak or they can hear. But of course, this is not a regulatory push. This is a market need. So we've seen a lot of voice enabled technologies in the market. I mean, they are coming. So I think that the rise for them, they will be, because this is the initial point. But there is also voice biometrics, and some of the companies that are using that. Let me give you an example of Citibank in the Philippines. And of course, it's like a huge population, and then they are just dispersed among different islands. So what they did is definitely, they say your voice is your PIN, because it's very easy for certain people to use voice, because it's quite natural, and to be authenticated towards financial services. Because either still some of the population, they can't write or they can't use the digital solutions. Mobile is okay, but still not everybody has smartphone. And of course, it's very much inclusive, and it really democratizes access to certain financial services because, as said, voice is a natural interface.
Thank you. I liked your presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, Ami. Thank you for your question.
Thank you for that. We can take one more question from the timing. Anything else? Please raise your hand or write in the text box. But I think, Anna, you just answered everything perfectly. So you have covered everything. So we have no question right now.
Yeah, I also think a question or maybe a comment from Alejandro, because exactly he mentioned that there are some legal issues or legal problems with WhatsApp and payments in Brazil, because as you probably heard, Facebook and WhatsApp, yeah, that's the same company. So basically they are launching now WhatsApp payments in Brazil together with Nubank, and Nubank is like the largest neobank, and they are even like not even a unicorn, they are decacorn, and they have like a huge, massive valuation. But having said that, that's an interesting story because, of course, that might be very much dependent the geography, because in the EU, we have some like a common area, common regulatory framework. And of course, there is a lot of new recommendations for AI, for voice-enabled technologies, for robo-advisory, also some things going behind the scenes with Facebook and other tech giants. So I don't think we have much time to cover that, but this is very much interesting what's happening in Latin America, because there are probably some legal problems in terms of launching WhatsApp-enabled payments there.
Thank you for
so much. That's amazing presentation, Anna. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Alejandro. That's you. Okay, thank you. Thank you. That's good to see.
The last question is about how it works with the legislation or with problems, legal issues. I don't know if self will have different problems like WhatsApp payments instead.
Yeah, I see your point. Although I don't know the specific Latin America or Brazil regulation, but I think this is very much of importance, because what I was trying to share with you today is definitely a potential for technologies to be used and the use cases that we already have in the market. But of course, we do have a lot of legal constraints, and we have to stick in the regulatory framework, and some of the regulations they will follow. Of course, they don't anticipate the situation, so they will follow later on, but this is a very much important context, because we are here in the regulated services as financial services. Yeah, so, but this is, I think, another point to be touched. Yeah, regulatory compliance, legal, but great insights anyway. Thank you for your questions.
Thank you so much, Anna. That was a great presentation. I highly enjoyed it. Thanks for being with us. And with that, we move on. Actually, we have been now with you in Warsaw virtually, and now we're moving virtually to Barcelona. So Jan, are you with me already?
Yeah.
Hey Jan, how are you doing? How is the weather?
Oh, good. Very sunny, as you can see. So
that's how Barcelona is always treating us. So yeah, we now change a little bit of perspective with Jan's insight on building a community, and Jan is probably the community goddess itself, being part of probably all important large communities around the world, and building the AI communities in Barcelona, always at the intersection of connecting and educating, which I think is a really interesting intersection that you're touching on. And one of the sentences that I love that you have in one of your profiles is helping Barcelona to become the AI hub it deserves to be. And I think this is a wonderful statement that shows how important communities are. And I know that you're building on that in Barcelona, but I hope that you can share some of your secrets, how we can do it also in Frankfurt and all other cities around Europe to build the AI hubs that we need. Jan, the stage is yours. Thanks for being with us.
Let me go take it. So I can do it from the iPad. Okay, so you can all see the screen now. Yeah. All All right. So basically, I want to explain you today a little bit of the story of how. Yeah, you can hear me. Hold on.
Yes, loud and clear. I can
Yeah.
see the presentation as well.
Okay, perfect. I'll check it. So I want to tell you a bit the story of how AI Saturdays, which is one of the communities that I founded and organized, got started. And it's also a bit more global, so hopefully it goes beyond the scope of Barcelona. First things, I want to explain maybe how I became interested on artificial intelligence. I was actually like a consultant in a company. We were assessing automotive companies, which you may have some of them in Frankfurt as well. I think there's a big hub in Darmstadt. And basically, I came across self-driving cars and then the interconnectivity with artificial intelligence and so on and so forth. So first question, when one of these new technologies comes up is like, okay, is this a hype or is this real? And when you go deeper into artificial intelligence, you can sort of see that it's powered by machine learning, which is a technology that has been growing in an increasing number in the latest years. And the mathematical basis for it seems pretty solid. And I'm not going to go deep into it, but I'm just going to cover basically how I understood AI for myself, of why it made sense, right? And the idea is that if you have a taxi versus an Uber, but Uber, by using those essentially algorithms, is able to cut the time and optimize for what would have been a human taxi driver waiting and just spending time without charging their customers. Using the same example, when we look at scalability, taxi services, we were now talking about regulation, Brazil and all the other countries. If you want to create a taxi, then you just have to look at the regulation for each of the cities that you want to expand, right? Whereas Uber can sort of afford a more international expansion, first by let's say the amount of venture capital funding that it's able to get, but also by the scalability, right? You just integrate the local maps of each region. The app is the same, the algorithms operate the same way, they learn, and then you have to fight for, let's say, the regulatory standards, which is something that Uber and Airbnb still struggle nowadays. And then in the case of the money, the really interesting thing of those algorithms is that if before, let's say, the taxi driver used to take most of the cut split with the banks, now with Uber, you basically can impose a fee, which in Uber is 25%, and then you can just get a cut of every single ride that is happening in the platform, right? This is something that I think will be a problem. Let's think about Apple now with the battle of how they charge 30% for essentially providing payment, but I don't think it covers today. We can elaborate it a bit more later on, right? So with this, my idea was, well, I don't know AI. Let's start a community to teach AI for everyone, right? And for everyone, I mean, I'm an engineer, but maybe there's people that they don't know how to code. So how can we do this? And the approach that we came with was basically, okay, let's just do, let's take Saturdays because it's a day where people are mostly free. Let's give them 12 to 15 lessons. And then at the end of it, every single person has to create a project on AI. And that's how we celebrate it, right? So that was what the whole community was about. And when one of the ingredients, what you need to start a community, right? The first thing that we would say is you need to have a follower. I don't know if you've seen this video that I'm showing on the bottom, but essentially one guy starts dancing randomly in the grass. Everybody's looking at them like a clown. And then the moment that they are able to sort of get 2 or 3 more people, then everybody starts dancing with him and it becomes sort of like a hype, right? And I think that this is very important because the first 2 or 3 people that follow you, then from there on, you basically have a community and then you can just go on pushing with your vision, right? And nowadays with coronavirus, before it used to be like a physical space. Now you need either physical or online space, and to give them relevant content, right? We have a sort of like an overflow of information nowadays. There's too many communities, there's too many newsletters. People sort of filter with what adds value to them. And in my case, the interesting thing is that we actually started AI Saturdays by mistake. So how this all happened was basically, I really wanted to learn artificial intelligence. So I got 3 or 4 friends. We set up a community in Meetup. We basically talked with the co-working. We said, hey, your co-working is free on a Saturday. Can you give me the space? They said yes. And then we said, okay, let's just meet up with whoever is interested to learn about artificial intelligence, right? And the whole trick is that we never said, okay, we're 5 people, we're 4, this is what we're going to do. So once we put it out there on Eventbrite, people started signing up and showing up. And then when in 24 hours we sold all the tickets, then we realized we had like a real community and we had to actually create some more structure, right? Today, what I want to give you is a little bit of the tips or the insights of if you're looking to start a community, it could work for you or have worked for me for sure, in order to get on the right foot, right? And the first one, so AI Saturday is actually, even though we started by mistake, I can say that now we're in over 25 different cities. We have more than 50 ambassadors. More than 2,000 people have gone through our program. We have created more than 100 artificial intelligence projects. And something that I'm incredibly proud of is that two fellows actually created an algorithm to detect exoplanets using data from the Kepler space mission. So I can say we're the first artificial intelligence community that is in the process of claiming the discovery of 2 exoplanets. So with that, I think the first tip is you basically have to follow your passion, right? And this is very mantra, this is very cliche, but hear me out, right? You basically want to focus on the thing that you're really interested in. If it's the intersection of chatbots and fintech, go create a community for that. And the whole reason for this is, first of all, because people can sense what you're passionate about. And second of all is when you're having fun, if someone else tries to copy you, if someone else tries to do the same thing as you, for them it's a job, and for you it's just fun, right? Saturdays, I would say the negative thing of it is that it takes place on a Saturday, right? And we've been running this for 2 years consecutively, every single edition. So I haven't had, let's say, a free Saturday on the normal courses for a while. But the reality is I have a lot of fun with it. I feel like I'm learning and I'm pushing myself harder. So it's really not work for me. Whereas if someone would try to start something very similar, it would be like, oh, how do we do for this thing on the Saturdays, right? Another thing is that the attitude is much more important than the skills that you have, right? So in my case, I really didn't know data science before I started. It was just my way of learning through having a community, right? And if you study the day before, if you sort of prepare beforehand, you can sort of fake it till you make it. And that's something that's really powerful, because a lot of the times you have an insecurity of like, well, I really can't start a community on this because I have no idea. If that's your passion, I think you should go for it. You should definitely find people that are skilled on that, but that can help you along the side. But you shouldn't let the imposter syndrome take over. Another thing is that when there's a community, a lot of the things that come with the community, it's making noise, right? It's putting your name out there, letting people see. And through this, I've been able to see that there's many communities that are making a lot of noise, but aren't really making a significant impact, right? So it's the same idea that, you know, if you're working hard behind the scenes, you know what you are responsible of to your community, you hold yourself accountable, and then when you're ready to sort of to come out of the stage, you can showcase it to everyone else, right? But don't get sidetracked by what a similar community is doing in another place, unless it's something that you can really take advantage of. I think it's much more important to set a direction, organize with your team, and go for that idea than to change your direction constantly. Because otherwise, if you think, like the example is, if you're a boat in the sea and you're just switching direction every second, you end up on the same place and you actually haven't even moved. Another thing is, it's actually really important, the team that you go with that. So the easiest way you can do it is try to onboard 2 or 3 of your closest friends or acquaintances that are on that area or potentially interested in this. Don't be afraid to put yourself on Twitter, on LinkedIn, and just tweeting who's in Frankfurt that would like to do this. And also another trick, if you're starting a community, that really helped me out is that your first early adopters are normally people that are keen on also helping out, right? So when we had a lot of, let's say, professional programmers coming to AI Saturdays at the beginning, and we realized that they were really not having any problem learning data science, we sort of pitched them and we said, hey, how about we just refund you the money from the ticket, and then you just basically help us lead the sessions, right? And that really worked out. So that's another easy early trick that you can use. Last but not least, the hardest step of starting a community is essentially the beginning, right? That's when you have nothing. You don't have materials, you don't have a team, you don't have a reputation. So good communities are really, really hard to start. But that's something that I've discovered over time, over several communities in which I have contributed, and is that the really great communities are actually really easy to scale and maintain, right? So among the communities that I work together with is Startup Grind, which I think it's also in Frankfurt. And we do one event a month with, let's say, top CEOs, top entrepreneurs, maybe investors in the field that have just a fireside chat with us. And and share some interesting stories, right? And even if those investors are one of the most reputable investors in Spain, and it really takes some time to book them ahead and just get them to be there in the session, it's surprisingly easy to run down every single session that we do, right? We just send the emails ahead. We have some templates. People really promote our event. Partners reach out to us preemptively and asked us to be sponsors for the event. So the reality is, it only gets easier from the moment you start a community, right? So my tip here is, if you really want to do something for a long run, if that's your passion, and there's going to be some tough moments, because starting a community basically means you're going to be out there for your team, for people, answering every single type of question. But the reality is, if that's what you're truly passionate about, it's only going to get easier with time. You're going to get more experience, and hopefully you're going to get known from that. So you can basically start other ideas that are similar to that. You can get involved with our communities, sponsor collaborations. So that are basically my main tips for that. Thanks so much. I don't know if you have any questions or something that I could help out with.
Thank you so much, Jan. That was really interesting. I actually have one question probably to start as, and if anybody else has a question, please raise your hand or use the chat box. It's pretty much aligned with your last point of starting a great community. So how did it actually work out for you in Barcelona? So who was the first person that joined you, and why did they join in the beginning?
So first person that joined was a friend of mine that saw my post on Facebook. She purchased the ticket. And I saw her, like, you see the tickets coming in, right? So I saw her name and I instantly reached out to her and I said, hey, we are 3 people here. Do you want to join and be the 4th person in the organization? And she said yes. So we instantly refunded her ticket, right? So it's also, it's interesting, because the people that want us to succeed are normally the ones closest to us. And yet that's the ones that we are more afraid to expose ourselves, right? It's easier for me to go on Twitter and say, hey, I'm doing this, and to go to my closest friends and say, that's my new idea, because I'm vulnerable to what they say. But the reality is, if you just put yourself out there, it's very likely that some friends, some acquaintances are willing to help out with asking nothing in return. That really helps getting you started.
Yeah, interesting. And another point here, I think you don't have a community in Germany yet, right?
I believe we do not know. So if someone would like to start an AI Saturdays in Germany, very happy to help out, make you realize that vision.
I'm hopefully someone will reach out, so I can only encourage that, because it's a fantastic thing that you're doing there. So far we have no question, no raised hand. Jan, thank you so much for sharing your insight. That was a really nice, interesting perspective, completely different from the AI perspective, but I highly enjoyed it. And hopefully we'll find someone. I'm pretty sure we find more than one person to start a community here in Germany. And thanks for being with us, Jan.
All right, that'd be great. Thank you all.
And with that, we already come to our last presentation, this time with 2 speakers, Markus and Heiko. Are you both there?
Yes, we are there. Yep. Can you hear us?
Fantastic. Yes, great. So
I don't have my video on because my internet connection is a bit shaky, so I don't want to stress it too much, but I will share the presentation immediately.
Before you get started, now in the last part, we are focusing on looking into some case studies of AI, and in this case, at Union Investment. So thanks, Heiko and Markus, for sharing some of your insights on how you're doing it on your daily basis. And also at this part of the event, thank you so much also for Union Investment for hosting this event since ever with us. That's always a fun part, and we are always super happy to have you all here. And I'm now really excited to see what you are doing with AI at Union Investment. And without any further interruptions, I just hand over to you and say one more time, thank you for being with us.
Yeah, you're welcome. I start with a brief introduction of what we are doing at Union Investment, why are we doing it, and how we see the AI market. And then Heiko is going to dive a bit deeper into the specific use cases we have and how we structure them. And we have one really good use case that shows how AI is really applied in practice, and that you don't only use one technique, but you use several techniques to make it working. first of all, let me tell you a bit about our company. I will make it really brief. We are an asset manager, the asset manager of the cooperative sector of the Volks- and Raiffeisenbanken that you probably might know. We have 3,200 employees and more than 360 billion euro in assets. So that's quite a responsibility. And we are trying to cope with that responsibility as good as we can. That also means that we are up to date with technology and technological advancements to make best use of them to maximize the wealth and revenues for our clients. And our major clients are private clients that are saving for their pension plans. And of course, we have also some institutional clients, but most of the assets are really from private clients, small, medium size, and yeah, that's our major focus. How is the company divided and how are we structured? This is quite important. Why is it important? Because if you're talking about AI use cases, in general, and you are not a really small company, but a little bit bigger company, then it's quite important how your processes work and how they interact, because AI is nothing that can only be structured in very small processes, but you should have a more holistic view on that. That's why we are talking here about our divisions. Our shareholder structure is very conservative and very consistent, as we are in general. And as you can see here, we are divided into 6 divisions, 2 sales units, institutional and retail clients. Then we have the competence centers for managing our assets. On the one hand, we have like the capital markets division, portfolio management, and then we also have a property division. You might be aware of that we are one of the largest property managers in Europe, number 1 for open-ended property funds, and this is a quite substantial and growing market for us. And then, of course, we have the service units that have a lot of automation and AI potential as well. For example, the fund services or infrastructure means IT and other infrastructure that we have. And this is also, of course, also a very important division, and also the division Heiko works in. I would like to conclude my part with a brief overview of the market in general. For an asset manager, it is important, before you start, it's important to have a look at the market in general and figure out what makes sense for you, how to use AI, and in which fields it is most promising. This is a McKinsey slide that we had at the beginning of our AI strategy project, and it is quite interesting because it shows the 3 major fields that we are looking at. At first, you can use AI for the client and for the asset acquisition part. For example, behavior-based client segmentation, personalized digital marketing use cases that you're probably aware of, with tons of providers that offer solutions in this field. Then you have another field concerning the improvement of your investment performance. For an asset manager, it's always important that you have a good performance for your clients, because if you have not good performance for your clients, then you lose clients. That's what we are basically looking out for, and what we are constantly working at. And to gain these improvements, for example, you can use alternative data sources to generate new alpha. Alpha means outperformance to the market. Or you can also use algorithms for trade execution, for improving trading processes and to reduce costs, trading costs, or as you see on the right-hand side, decrease operational costs by increasing the automation parts in your processes, and optimize standard processes that you have, for example, in the fund services departments. And yeah, this is basically the big picture of our AI strategy. And now Heiko will dive a bit deeper and also show you some use cases. So Heiko, the stage is yours.
Thanks, Markus. And first of all, thanks Anna for the great introduction for AI and what it is and how it's segmenting itself. It's a perfect jump start for what I prepared in the presentation. From my perspective, I want to give you two messages. One message is I'm going to demystify AI in the next 5 minutes, and the second message is I would show you how you can apply AI to really old and traditional processes and how it can help you in the company. The first thing is, what you see on that slide is AI for us is the next incremental step for data analytics. We did rule-based analytics, which is the algorithms. We did advanced analytics, which is more or less statistics. And we're moving into the cognitive analytics space, which is deep learning, neural networks, and so on and so forth. And with every step, you get more capabilities on the way. And as Anna perfectly said in the beginning, it comes back to core competencies like image and video, audios, documents and text analysis, data analysis, predictions, and all this kind of stuff. I don't want to talk about the enablers on the right side because Anna put it perfectly in the scene, saying it is computing power, it is data availability, it is unit cost, and for, last but not least, it's industrial adoption. So this is our understanding of AI, and you need to have all these things in your bucket in order to be successful. So on the next slide, we're going to see the segmentation of the capabilities of AI. So if you take AI as the umbrella and you split it down into the different capabilities, what is the vision if you apply it to your processes? So our vision is we will add AI to almost every process of the company, but it will happen silently. So you might ask yourself why your neighbor is able to calculate the price of his house better than you because he has some technical support in the back. You may ask yourself the question why he's so quick on ordering on any e-commerce marketplace, because he's doing it via voice. So you don't see AI up front, but it is in the back, and you can apply it to the processes to support the process. And it will be divided in these different capabilities, like object detection images, like documents, like time series, like predictions in this case. And it will be combined with traditional capabilities, like the typical computer engineering space, integrating into system, making data available, interfaces, real-time batch, and so on and so forth. By the end of the day, it's not going to be the monolithic application that rules the world. It's not like, I forgot the name about in this famous movies where AI takes over the world and is a central brain. I don't think that's the case. It will be rather a combination of individual services that you apply on each and every process to make the process better. So that's our vision of AI. And coming to the next case, what I brought along to show you how you can adopt the this understanding to traditional process. So what we used here is you know that not everybody in the world adapted technology fully. So there's still some paper going around from A to B, and there's still some nice formulas going around from A to B. And there's traditional providers that pass you these formulas, extract you some data, and make it computer readable or do some stuff with it. Unfortunately, in the past, there was typically a huge amount of manual interventions and cleanup and such things in order to make it happen. So what we did is if you see the bottom line of this slide, it's basically the combination of different in brackets AI capabilities in order to make the formula capturing process much easier, much more reliant, and much more stable. So in the first part, and I will quickly run through it, and if there's any question, we can do this afterwards. So in the first part, you need to obviously extract the fields. On the second slide, you need to do a classification. If it's Markus, yeah, thank you. You need to classify it. What is it? Is it an account opening field formula? Is it something else? Next slide is a data, and you can do this via machine learning. The next thing is another data processing step. You transform your fields, and then you move into the next slide, which is you classify if it's a handwritten thing or if it's TypeScript. So do we do it in OCR or do we do an ICR? Next part, you go into character segmentation, which is a typical, if it's a handwritten thing, you say, okay, the character segmentation thing is a typical standard image processing operator. We don't need any machine learning AI capability for that. But if you extract the characters, in the next step, you go into another machine learning module, which is the character classification. And that's where we use the CNN on the right-hand side, which is the neural network, in order to transform the segmented characters into a name, and based on historical data and so on and so forth. There's a lot of trained models in the internet, specifically on this case. And then you move into the text comparison space, which can be a kind of machine learning, which can be a neural network. We're using we're using a Levenstein distance model to compare the reading results. And last but not least, you're going to the traditional way back, because you need to have it in a computer readable format. So we transform the results of the extract into an XML document and send it to the relevant information systems that need it. What I wanted to show you here is, you see there's a really old traditional process on how to deal with paper formulas. And trust me, there's millions of formulas still on the planet. On the other side, you're using AI technology, different capabilities in the AI technology, in order to make this process more stable, more automatic, and more reliable. And that's one example that shows that AI is not a monolithic application. It has different capabilities. We have the power, the computing power, we have the data for learning, and that's where we can create the difference in order to make AI successful and help us to make to reduce cost or generate revenues. We have a lot of more cases in the sales area or in the trading area, but I thought this combination of traditional process enhanced with AI competencies makes perfectly sense in this round. Thanks. Any questions, feel free to ask. I think I did not use too much time on that one. Thanks, Robin.
Thank you, Heiko, and also thank you, Markus. We have certainly some time for questions. So you know the drill. If you want to ask a question, please raise your hand or use the chat box, because that was also our last presentation, formal presentation for today. And like always at our Innovare events, we want to give you the